I watched Eight for Silver last night, and I was thoroughly engrossed. It is a very good film.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I want to emphasize. It's a film. You know,
Yeah.
the filmmaking on this one is real good. Sean did a great job.
Sean knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. And it's him and I kind of geeked out on the phone after I'd seen it, just because, you know, like, it's the film. It looks like a film that I loved when I first wanted to become an actor. You know, like watching all those independent films that I kind of grew up on. You know, like a Cassavetes look, but it's now a horror film. Like, it just had that old school, really elegant, beautiful cinematography throughout. It's gorgeously shot.
I completely agree. So since we have some extra time, I wanted to ask a few other things. And I'm going to start with the first two questions I've been asking everybody. What TV series would you love to guest star on?
Oh, gosh. I would love to have been on, like, Breaking Bad, Fargo. What is...
Oh, those are both good.
Yeah, those are not bad.
Yeah, those are good. You know. What movie do you think you've seen the most?
Probably Tombstone. Just because we watched it for about 4 weeks straight on a like a winter out of school thing where there was just too much snow, and we just cranked this one movie nonstop, where we were basically mimicking the characters word for word. Probably Tombstone. Yeah.
You've had a lot of success the last few years as an actor, booking projects, and I'm just curious, when did you feel like you made it as a working actor, that like this is going to be your career? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like you ever, I know that you know this too. Like, I don't think you ever feel that way either. I think I'm eternally chasing the epic performance, or just great performances. I'll always be doing that, chasing that. But, you know, before Narcos, I'd done, like, worked with Soderbergh and Fincher and Scott Frank, I think. But I was broke, man. You know, and I don't think money defines anything, but, you know, I was really, when I first started acting, I said I'd give myself 2 years to do this. And that went well, but at a certain point, even after working a lot, I was extremely frustrated because I was still, you know, really struggling to get by. And that creates, and it's all great. It creates a great hunger in me, but I really noticed it after Narcos. I noticed everything kind of slightly elevate or cross into another tier, if you want to talk that way.
Because I did want to bring up Narcos. I mean, I'm a huge fan of that series. And what do you think it is about Narcos that makes it so popular around the world? Even when it switches, because the cast keeps switching, they keep on dealing with different things, yet it's a huge hit for Netflix.
Right. Well, you know, I first of all, it's an international story. It has such mythology to Escobar. He's the godfather and the sort of kingpin that, you know, sprouted all those, you know, schizophrenic cells in Mexico that in modern day we're dealing with. And it was Kismic, you know, like El Chapo, I think, escaped on the day we released. It was either season 1 or season 2. And it was just so many things that just kind of integrated into it. And I think also Netflix was not in Central America or South America at all. So that the show that up Netflix in that, and you know, in that region of the world. So there was a couple things, and I think it was so interactive too, in a way, because unless you're bilingual, you're you're really engrossed in the story because you're having to keep up and read, and then, you know, follow along in your native language. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things working for it.
You mentioned Fincher, and obviously I'm a huge Fincher fan. What do you remember from making Gone Girl, like early in your career?
Yeah, I think I lost a lot of, that was the set that, like, a lot of anxiety that comes with performing kind of went away. Just because, I mean, this is to David's benefit and to what he does really well. And he gets great performances out of, you know, it's pretty well known that he does a lot of takes. So after, you know, you've been in independent films and you have one take, if you get it, if you nail it, then we're moving on, kind of mentality. You know, you may get 3 takes max or something like that. So with David, it was a great different, you know, other side of the fence, or however you want to put it, just a different opposite of getting to do that so much, where you just got comfortable on set and you didn't feel rushed and didn't feel pressured to do anything. You had actual time to do something. So that was an incredible experience and growth.
I talked to you for the Logan junket a few years ago, movie that I absolutely love, just like everybody else. I don't meet people that are like, oh, Logan, that's a bad movie. You know, like, it's universally loved. When you think back on the making of it, is there like a day or two you'll always remember, or is it, what do you remember about making that film?
Yeah, I remember, you know, because we shot in Mississippi, New Orleans, New Mexico, Colorado. Like, it was just, we kept going north as the film did. I will never forget, there was so many mosquitoes that we had one of those racket wands, and he just like floated zap, 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 all night long, just getting eat up. So that was yeah, that was insane. But I think the final couple of days of shooting, you know, he was really just aware. You could tell he was aware that was his last go of it. And he was, you know, putting it all out there. So everyone else kind of bringing up their game. So it was, yeah, I felt like you were a part of something that was big and people appreciated it. And you just knew that this thing was going to hum.
Completely. Have to bring up Shane Black's The Predator. That's a movie that, as far as I know, and maybe I could be wrong, went through some reshoots, had some stuff. What was the movie radically different before you started doing reshoots, or what? Can you sort of talk about what did those reshoots add, or, you know?
Yeah, it did. You know, we shot, I think they did, you know, I don't know, I could be speaking out of school, but I think they shot everything. We shot everything in the daylight, either to save money or to save money. And then we had to come back months later, like 6 to 8 months later. My son had been born by that point. And we shot everything again, slightly different, in all nights. So we did a month and a half of nights to make, you know, to have this, I guess, Predator sci-fi thriller feel, which obviously the dark lends itself to. So that was, you know, so from the get-go, everything was kind of slightly never really locked in, never really set in place. It's just a big vehicle. And once you get one of those big studio films up and running and just going, there's no way to stop it. So some things can run themselves in the ground, and but yeah, that was it was every film is different, you know. You can never really predict what's going to happen or difficulties you might face. But you know, I feel like ultimately, you know, The Predator, the original, was lightning in a bottle, and yeah, people want to replicate and repeat. And I thought there was a great story behind Shane coming in and being in the first one and writing on this one, and kind of bringing it full circle. But you know, the pop culture and everything, and the ethos is just sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Completely. And I remember now that you mentioned it, I remember hearing about the shooting everything at night because the Predator didn't look good during the day. It's not scary. I remember all these stories. But enough of that. Let's jump into why I actually get to talk to you. There's going to be a lot of people watching this interview that will not know what 8 for Silver is about. So I hate doing the generic, but tell people what the movie is about.
Yeah, I'll try to do it justice, everybody. 8 for Silver is an art house horror film, simply put. A little bit deeper. It's from a filmmaker named Sean Ellis, who is a real artist. It's a story about a family whose son has gone missing. Kelly Reilly plays the mother, and Alistair Petrie, and maybe butchering your name, Alistair, I apologize, are looking for his son. I play a character named John McBride, who is a pathologist, come to inspect what's going on in the manor in the estates. And I also have been trying to track down and find out what's happened to my family, who are no longer with me. So I'm coming to the family, and I stay with them and try to solve what's happened to their son. In doing so, you sort of uncover this terrible tragedy that's happened in the area, and therefore has placed the curse on the land.
That's a good job of selling it without giving it all away. You know what, one of the many things I really dug about this film is no one is making stupid choices. You don't have like this random character being like, doing this really dumb thing. Everyone's actually acting smart, you know?
Yeah.
And can you sort of talk about that?
Sure, man. Yeah, I appreciate your blunt honesty. Yeah, it's true. Me and my wife are huge fans of horror films just because of the adrenaline rush. So we'll watch dumb as shit ones, or we'll watch, good ones, and they're really in between, right? And I've always loved the genre, and there is always something inherent to it, though. Too, it's don't go in the barn. It's not like that. I think it just showcases Sean's ability and his sensibility to make a film, because he's written it, he shot it, he's directing it. It's really not out of his possession. He's the maker of all this. So there was a couple times on set too, where it's really tricky. Like, is this going to give us, a technical advantage if we do a scare here or whatever? So, just leaning into Sean on all that stuff, whether, is this, would I do this? Would I walk over here? Just, I don't feel like that's safe. Yeah, in a sense, but yeah, I'm glad you find that.
One of the things that I think is really cool about this movie is the actual filmmaking. And I want to give an example, and this does not spoil anything. There's a scene in this movie where Sean shoots it, and he's also the cinematographer, writer, director, as you mentioned. He shoots it from a very wide angle on this scene where you're seeing everything in the distance. It's a wide shot.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. And it's this great shot. And in a normal movie, you'd start on that wide, you'd all of a sudden be closer and closer, you'd be, cutting to people's reaction, whatever it is. And as this big action unfolds, this big thing, you'd be getting closer and closer, and there'd be a lot of editing. This entire sequence is being shown in this wide shot from a distance, and you're watching everything unfold, and it's a beautiful shot. And that is not the norm, and that also represents the movie. Can you sort of can you sort of talk about that?
I think the entire film had that approach. It's not the norm. We're not going to do the norm here. And it's such a great choice, and Sean's consciously making these choices, and his actors are too, throughout the process of making the film. It leaves you, the scene you're talking about is a big wide shot with a lot of people and a lot of action going on in it, and you have so many little micro stories going on in the macro that you're constantly tracing and going back to, and there's that character, I'm seeing them now on the bottom of the screen, and what just happened to them. It's I haven't really seen a shot like that in a while, if I have. I think Sean's, he had the ability to make a film that he wanted to make, and that's, to LD, you've got to give them the proper props to that. Mickey and Pete Shalamon over at LD, they really were just trying to support Sean, and if he wanted to shoot that, I mean, it took so much longer to rehearse that scene. It took an entire probably day or two just to rehearse. So, so what do? You're splitting hairs. Like, we can take 2 days and we can punch in, do more setups, or let's try something different and just choreograph this entire piece.
Completely. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but I do think that when the marketing starts to hit, they will reveal that maybe there's a creature in this movie. There's something.
For sure. Yeah.
And so so what can you sort of tease? Because I think a lot of people there's going to be people who are watching this specifically to see a creature attack people. What can you tease about the creature?
It got paid the most. So if you're looking to see if it's legit, it's totally legit. It's creepy. It's real. They did everything in camera. So we had an FX team I think they were out of Paris, because we shot everything in the wine country in France, or sort of central South France. And so that was all built, and I guess the proper terminology is puppeteered. This animatronics rolling creature, this demonic looking thing. And then I think it was enhanced in post by CGI rather than built out from nothing. So it has a different feel and realness to it, I guess.
I want to talk specifically about a scene, but I can't until the movie's going to come out. And but it involves the creature and you, and it's a fucking cool scene. And you probably know what I'm talking about. It's in a room, and that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to ruin anything. So I'm just going to say, for people who are going to watch this, if it's still you have the ability to see it at Sundance, you absolutely should. But I'm 1,000% sure this movie is coming out, and at some point down the road, everyone will be able to see it, and you really should make an effort. Moving on to the next subject. I thought the timing of me talking to you today was really good, because they announced something about a Netflix series called Sandman, or my mistake. What?
Do you know about it? Have you heard? Are you a fan of Neil Gaiman?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't want to get you in any trouble, because I know that everything is, I'm not going to ask. I guess.
I wish I had some sunglasses, man. Fuck, I had some somewhere. No, these are my Logan sunglasses. Man, we're doing it. We're doing the Sandman. We're shooting it out in London, and I played the Corinthian, which is one of the coolest thing that's happened in a while to me, to get to play this character, because there's just it's one of the good ones that hasn't been done, and it's like the last it's like one of the best comic books that haven't been made. So it's exciting.
I think that Sandman is making it now is the perfect time because of the mixture of the audience ability to understand all this, the visual effects being what they are, and having something like somebody like Netflix who is willing to tell this story in an adult way. And so I guess what I want to know is, how did you get the role? Was it something you went after? Like, talk a little bit about how you got involved.
How I got involved, it was a long process. I had heard that they were doing it. I've heard over the years people were doing it. You know, I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt was even going to try to do something, and I would have loved to see his version. But I read the script, and they're really adamant about everyone auditioning. So I went in. It must have been like a year ago, probably a year ago, and then I didn't hear anything until probably like September or something like that. Anyways, a long process. And then the conversation just started. And then they wanted to tape again, and they wanted to meet with Neil, which I was really interested in doing, and talking just how the show was going to be done. I had some, just because a project gets greenlit, doesn't mean things are going to go great. You kind of want to suss out and figure out who's involved and how are you going to do things and what's the approach, and to make sure everything lines up and makes sense to do, because you want to. Neil hasn't done this for 30 years, so you don't want to lead with the wrong foot. You want to get the ship in the water and pointed in the right direction from the get-go, because again, that's something really hard to reverse engineer. So yeah, I'm really excited. We just started in London, and we've got incredible actors to work with and to portray these characters.
So you just started filming recently?
Yeah, just before Christmas.
I'm looking at the clock. How long are you actually filming for? Is it like a 5-month shoot, an 8-month shoot?
I'll be there until June.
Got it. Was this one of these things, because I don't know, is this one of these things when you sign on that they say to you, we have a 3-season idea, we have a 5-season idea, we want you to know what we're doing before you sign on, because this is not something that I envision is going to fail. I envision this being a flagship on Netflix, like something big. So how much are they telling you when you sign on? Just know we have a 5-season plan. Yeah,
I think everyone wants a show to continue. I think that's a standard contract. I think 5 years, whatever. We have talked about all that. I don't know if it'll work out. I think it might work out in different blocks of time, but you definitely want to hear how long something's going to have. You want to have some sort of macro idea of like how long something's going to last. But I don't really want to give away the details of how long.
Completely. I guess what I want to know is, you've obviously read the scripts, and I'm curious. Oh. Okay, so you've read at least one. Say it again.
No, I read them. Yeah.
I was going to say, but like for fans of the material, and obviously you're familiar with the material now that you've signed on, what do you think for fans? What can they look forward to? Is it one of these things? I guess I want to know that.
I think they've done a real, Dave Goyer's on it. Alan Heinberg is our showrunner. These guys know what they're doing. Our directors, Jamie Child, and our other director, I'm totally blanking on right now. He's going to kill me. But yeah, these guys are smart, and they're artists and they're craftsmen. So I think no one's leaving any stone unturned on what stories to incorporate and how to weave them in together and how to play this storyline through. I think what people are just going to see this thing realized is transforming it is really what it's all about. Making it is a hard show to turn into reality. There's so much set building and there's so much design that goes into this. So a lot of people are employed to get that done. So, and with such grandiose sort of sets and all that stuff, you have to have a lot of people making, and coming to an agreement on a decision.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know I have to go, and B, I know that I could ask you 50 other questions, but I want to know real fast. What can you say about this Born to be Murdered, which is another Netflix? It's a Netflix thing, another Netflix thing a movie.
Yeah, it was an independent film that we made over in Greece. John David Washington, Luca Guadagnino is producing. It's sort of an international thriller. It's really John's film, to be honest with you. It's his film, and there's sort of speckled group of actors that he works with, because his storyline basically is weaving in and out of Greece as he's on the run. So it's a really cool, exciting film, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I think was waiting to go into festivals, but now with COVID, I think it was just bought. So we didn't get a chance to do any of this stuff.
Got it. I would ask you so much more, including BJ Novak's movie, but I don't want you to be late for your next interview. So I'm going
It's going to be great, man. It's from Blumhouse.
Vengeance. He wrote and directed it. I'm so curious.
Yeah, he's great. He's got a big career ahead of him.
Yeah. I could talk to you about, I had other things, but we're out of time. Hey, listen, sincerely, congrats on everything. I'm super happy for you. And I wish they were doing set visits on Sandman. If COVID wasn't happening, I would have begged them to see that set. But all right. In season 2.
In season 2, we'll do another interview, and I'll bring you along to the set of Sandman. Just put a good word in to Ryan for me.
I promise you, I will. I'll tell him you said hi.
Tell him he needs to know that I say hi.